This is episode 157 of the C10 podcast, and this week we're continuing our series of conversations, if you will, with 2024 Blue KC Coaches with Character honorees. This week, it's Mary Foster, Lincoln College Preparatory Academy dance coach and East High School head boys and girls track and field coach, who is the April Blue KC Coaches with Character honoree. Since 2017, we've had a program in partnership with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City and the Kansas City Royals called Blue KC Coaches with Character. Each year, we recognize 6 coaches who are making Kansas City a better place. Throughout the season, we feature the coaches on this podcast because who knows better about leadership, building teams, team chemistry, and so on than successful high school coaches. Mary Foster has been a coach in the Kansas City Public School District for more than 25 years. She started at Lincoln College Preparatory Academy Middle School in 1998, and then created the Tiger Dance Team in 2005, which reached the state championships in Missouri just 3 years later in 2008. In addition to dance, Foster's also been the head boys and girls track and field coach at East High School since 2019, and is a USA Track and Field Level 1 certified coach. We'll find out what that means here in just a minute. In addition to all of that, she works with House Hope KC. As her nominator, Dr. Lee Allen wrote, Coach Foster has been a coach and mentor to hundreds of students in multiple schools throughout her illustrious career. In addition to founding the Tiger Dance Team and growing it into one of the best dance teams in Missouri, she's also helped capture multiple state championships and has had several of her student athletes continue their careers at the collegiate level. Because of her love of children, Kansas City Public Schools asked her to serve in a role where she can mentor other district dance teams and replicate her success district-wide. She means so much to so many students, past and present. With that, it's my honor to introduce you to the April Blue KC Coaches with Character honoree, Mary Foster. Welcome to the C Major League Shed, Coach. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, hey, thank you for doing this. I'm looking forward to talking about your coaching and leadership journey this week and in about 10 questions or so. But before that, we like to start these with what we call pregame batting practice, just a chance to get to know you a little bit better. So here we go. Question number 1. My hero growing up was?
Oh, goodness gracious. My coaches that I came up under. I remember one in middle school, which was Coach Greer, was one of my first track coaches. And she just kind of, I based a bunch of my, the things that I do with my team off of the things that she had us do as far as team building and things like that.
Very good. Okay, question number 2. If I could have one superpower as a leader, it would be?
I would want to be the one that everybody would they could come to. I don't know if that's a superpower, but that's what I would like to be dependable and be
There you go.
all the places that I need to be in.
Question number 3, the thing that motivates me every day is?
The students themselves. Student athletes.
And then question number 4, if I could meet one person in history, it would be?
One person in history. See, now you got my wheels going. I would like to meet Oprah because she makes dreams happen.
There you go. Very good. And coaches make dreams happen for a lot of kids as well. So
yes.
There you go. So to kick things off here, tell me about 17-year-old Mary Foster.
17-year-old Mary Foster was a high school track student at Van Horn High School, which used to be in the district many years ago. I was involved in dance myself. I was just one of those students that used to, I'm just driven. I'm either at a track practice, I was in the sports, I like to work. So I would say I was active.
So what were your dreams and goals at that point?
When I was 17, let me think, what did I want to do? Well, originally I wanted to become a police officer, which eventually that's what led me into the schools is I became a site-based officer in the Kansas City Public Schools. And so that was like the alternative to being a police officer at the time.
Huh. So what turned your career around, so to speak?
What made me do that? Well, at the time that I wanted to be a police officer, they weren't accepting for the academy. And
Hmm.
I was actually referred by the police academy, I mean, the police department to go into the school until they opened it up. And once I got there, I realized that this is a lot better. You work before the schools, you work Monday through Friday, off by 2:30, and it was a better fit.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. So when did you start doing that?
I started in the school district like I think around 1995, 94.
Okay. So did you start that right out of high school, or did you go to college somewhere?
No, I'm actually a late bloomer as far as college goes. I'm currently a student at UCM right now. I have two classes left, and then I'll be graduating with my degree in human development and family services. I did a technical school instead. I'm a licensed cosmetologist.
Hmm.
So
Nice.
then I some kind of way I ended up, like I said, in the schools, and that's been my life.
But this podcast is called C10, and it's based on I mentioned before we start recording that I know your nominator pretty well and his family because his son, Lee Jr., was in our first cohort, if you will, for a program we all called C10 Mentoring Leadership. And it's a mentoring and leadership program for high school students. We started that first year with 9, try to keep it around 20 students a year, but we've got a lot of students, and you see this, I'm sure, at Lincoln Prep. I mean, there are students that really want to go to college.
Yeah,
Um, we have some that start off in college and then realize maybe in that first semester that, hey, this isn't for me, or some realize right out of high school that, hey, I want to go to technical school, I want to go directly in the workforce, whatever it might be. And so we encourage our students to listen to this podcast, and I'm hoping they catch that part of this. That I mean, you're about to finish at UCM as you're retiring from one school district and heading to something else, but you don't necessarily have to go to college, period. And you don't necessarily have to go to college if you're going to go right out of high school.
right.
I think that's a great message for people to hear. Because when I was growing up, you know, you you pretty much felt you needed to go to college,
Right.
which now as we talk to people that are in the trades, I think that's part of the reason the trades are hurting now because people my age ended up going to college and not into the trades. And but that's a whole other discussion for a whole nother time, I'm sure. But did you always want to be a coach of some sort, or was there something that hit you kind of in the late 90s that you thought, you know what, I think I want to do this?
I saw the need. I have one student that just really stood out to me. Her name is Makia. At the time, she was Makia Mayfield. And she needed something. And I asked her, I said, Makia, what is it? Because I was just a security officer at the desk, and she was in and out of trouble all the time. And I said, well, what is it that you like to do? And she said, well, she likes to dance. And I said, okay, so what happened if they let me start a dance team? That's how it all started.
Wow.
It was a student that needed something to do to keep her out of trouble at the school.
And was this at the middle school or the high school?
This was at the middle school.
Wow. So in that first year, as you're getting this going, how many students did you end up having?
The first year we started off as a drill team. And it was just, like I said, it was just an activity for the kids to do after school. I think between the boys and the girls, about 30 kids all together. The thing about the boys were that the girls would get distracted by the boys and the boys would get distracted by the girls. So one day the boys came to me and the movie Drumline had just come out, and he brings me the tape, and he's like, oh, we're going to learn this beat right here. And I took the beat home and listened to it. And the next day I got there and I was like, okay, so unfortunately, boys, we don't need the drummers anymore because we're just going to dance to this tape instead. And so
They were
then that
crestfallen, I'm sure.
that's basically how really the dance part came about. But at first it started as a drill team, but a long time, the Marching Cobras actually started over at Lincoln Prep
Really?
Middle School. Yeah, that's where it started. Long time before I even got here.
I didn't realize that. Well, I
Yeah.
remember the Cobras from when I was growing up here.
This is J.R. Buckner, President and CEO of First Federal Bank of Kansas City. We hope you're enjoying this week's conversation. For this week's Student Spotlight, I'd like you to meet one of the students in our C10 Mentoring and Leadership Program.
My name is Taryn Lester and I go to Raytown South, and C10 is making an impact on my life by improving my communication skills and making me more able to speak in front of groups of people.
First Federal Bank of Kansas City is proud to make a donation this week to the Post-High School Scholarship Fund for seniors in the C10 Mentoring and Leadership Program. If you'd like to join us in this effort to give our future leaders an opportunity after high school, please click on the link in the show's notes. Now back to this week's conversation.
So what was most challenging for you early on in your coaching journey?
The certification part of it was hard because working for a school, they like for you to have your college credentials and things like that. And I didn't have that stuff, but just working around the principals and things like that at the time, they knew that I had a passion for our kids and whatever I needed to do to keep them active. And I was like, well, I know how to dance. That's what I can do. I'll give them that. And so eventually, Mr. Allen encouraged me to go back to school. That was the first time. That's a whole nother story. My mom says that I'm the only person that takes 9 years to go through a 2-year program, but that's an adult one. It took me 9 years to get my associate's degree, which was crazy. But he encouraged me to go back to school, and with that, I was able to get the credentials that I needed to start coaching.
What did you learn about yourself early as a coach?
I know that I just have a passion for our kids. And our kids know that Miss Mary's gonna do whatever I need to do so that they get to do everything that everybody else gets to do. I'll give you an example. When we went through COVID, and then they shut down all the schools and things like that. And at that time, I'm just a security officer. I was a coach, but I was a security officer, and all our kids that they called me, Miss Mary, they're not going to let us graduate. They're not going to let us walk. And it was kids just from around the district, all on like a party line. And they were saying, what are we going to do? So one of the kids was like, well, let's call Miss Mary. She's going to fix this. She always does. And so we ended up fixing it. They ended up being able to hold their graduation ceremonies and things like that. But I like to be that. I just like being the person that I know that they can count on to get it done. I think that's what I found out about myself is the drive that I have and the passion that I have for our kids.
Where do you think that comes from?
I probably get it from my mama because my parents are the same way. My parents make sure that we are able to have and do everything that everybody else. Just there's no limits. No limits. If you want to do it and you have the passion to do it, then we might not get to it the same way that other people might get to it, but eventually we will get there.
Mm-hmm. Has your coaching style changed? Your leadership style changed over the years?
I would say the coaches that are under me that were on my team as a coach, they say I have changed a lot. I used to be really, really, really strict. And so now they say that I'm a little sappy now when it comes to the kids. And I'm like, I don't see it, but I don't think it's changed a lot. It's changed a little, but it has to change because our athletes have changed. They're built different now. Mm-hmm. When my coaches were on the team, they worked for everything that they got. They worked extra hard, put in extra practice so that they could go to state and so that they could go to camps like everybody else and go to all those things. Where now it seems like these kids, I hate to say it, but the kids now coming up are kind of like riding off of the coattails of the former, and they just kind of feel like, well, it's like an entitlement. Like they just feel like you should just give it to them and they don't have to work as hard.
Mhm. Unfortunately, I think a lot of kids probably feel that way these days.
Yeah,
It's kind of that everybody gets a trophy mentality.
right.
What's been your key to putting together a successful team? And we've got people that listen to this that are in leadership with different companies and whatnot. They're in the business world, they might be in the classroom. So, just as you think in general about putting together your teams, what's been the key? What do you look for?
I look for a prototype of something that has already been successful. And if I see a program or like a business that's doing really well, I want to know what did you do to get where you are, and then I try to put it into a format of how I do my programs.
And we mentioned you're the track and field coach for both the boys and the girls at East High School as well. Is it different coaching dance over here at Lincoln Prep and then track and field over here at East High School?
Well, that's another thing that kind of happened because of Mr. Allen. I coached under him at Lincoln Prep for I think 8 years, maybe longer than that. Then when I went over to East, at that time they didn't have a coach, and I happened to be walking down the hall, and of course Mr. Allen's like, Coach Mary's track and field level 1, and she's taking kids to state, and so I was kind of voluntold at that point, and that's how I ended up at East coaching. Is it different?
If your dance student athletes saw you as a track coach over here, watched your practice as a track coach, or vice versa, would they say, "Holy cow, Coach Mary"?
I think I'm probably a little bit more harder on the dance kids than I am the track
Are
kids
you really?
because, well, track is individual, and you can only go as far as you can by yourself. If you don't put in the work, then where you stop is where you stop. As far as like dance team, that everybody is a bunch of different moving parts, and if somebody's missing or if somebody doesn't come to practice, it affects everything. Where track, if you don't come to practice, well, then you probably won't do good in your race. If somebody's missing over here in dance, then we all suffer from it. So I think I'm a little I'm a little more strict when it comes to dance than it is track.
I mentioned this at the beginning, but you're a U.S. track and field level 1 coach. I've seen this before, but what is a level 1 coach or any level?
Well, it looks really good on paper. It
Yeah, it
sounds good when you
does.
say it too. But but in order to be a level 1 coach, you take different courses and things like that, sit in on seminars and things like that. And then you get a little bit of one-on-one with some of the coaches. But level 2, you get to actually go on the like say when we had the Olympics, you could be one of those people that get to carry their carry their stuff down in the back. That was the best part about it.
Really?
But it just pretty much means that you know what you're doing when you're coaching. It's not like, oh, it's an opening for track. And I've never taught track before. I'm a chess coach. And so it just means that you kind of know what you're doing.
You mentioned how Lincoln Prep is an inner city school, and just in case somebody listening doesn't know where it is, it's near 18th and Vine. Actually, it used to butt up next to the old municipal stadium when it was where the Royals and Chiefs first played. The stadium was basically right next to where the football field is. They're at what, 12th in Brooklyn, 17th in Brooklyn, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sitting. If I could turn my camera around, I'm actually sitting right directly across from it now.
Oh, I would guess at least that you're going up against when you go to state tournaments, you're probably going up against some schools with a lot of resources.
Yes.
Do you ever, or have you ever used that with your athletes to say, hey, you know what? Let's just get in there and do our thing? Or is that even brought up at all?
So the one thing about my team, and they recognize us a lot because of showmanship. Honestly, we don't have the skill level or the technique that most of your other schools have. We just don't have it. We don't, like you said, we don't have the resources. They have kids that have been going to private lessons since they were 3 years old and things like that. And I have my athletes, I'll have a senior walk in and be like, what are y'all doing in the gym? we're dancing. Can I stay? And next thing you know, never dance. It just raw. And so, but what my kids are known for is having fun. Anytime we're at a camp, when we're at a competition, everybody wants to be where Lincoln Prep is. We want to win. The likelihood of actually winning sometimes is just it's so far, but it's about the experience and about having fun. And one of my hashtags is we can too. If you can do it, we can too. It, like I said, you might be able to walk straight there. We might have to go around a couple of corners and dip and dodge, but eventually we will be there. And every year we're right there in the mix. So, but it's about having fun. We have lots of fun, and it's about family. So I don't even think they don't really even think about the competition piece of it. It's just about they just want to have fun, and then along the way we pick up a couple of trophies.
Well, how many state trophies have you picked up over the years?
Whoa! So, in 2008, that was our very first time competing, and we actually won state that year.
Wow.
So since then, we've always been in our category. We've always been in the top 5. So they do well. I think they do really well, but so they always go. I can't tell you how many trophies. I have 3 trophy cases over at the high school. I have I don't know how many trophies we have over here at the middle school, and then my basement is like my husband's ready to throw me out because our basement is just as far as the eye can see from one point all the way to the back. You have to think of 25 years of trophies. It's just like. But as far as the state, every year since 2008, we have placed at state in one category or another.
Wow. What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I think I'm most proud of our prop routines. That is like the highlight of all of everything, all the years. It's not hip hop. It's not homecoming. It's Miss Mary, what are we doing for prop this year? So I've self-labeled us the prop queens. And prop is just like a novelty routine where you just kind of play act and you have like objects and props and things like that. Kind of like Broadway.
Nice. Very good. Well, I mentioned in the beginning that you also are involved with House of Hope KC.
Yes.
Which is it's an incredible thing, but tell us a little bit about House of Hope and what you do with them.
So at House of Hope KC, I am a residential care coordinator. We're there to help, I guess, young teens who are just kind of like off the path a little bit. We help them get back on. A lot of our students don't live here in Kansas City. They are brought in, so it's a boarding school.
Mm-hmm.
So in there, we try to, I won't say we completely reset them, but we have them rethinking a lot of the things that they're doing. It's like discipline at home, and some of them have issues with, like I said, authority figures. Some of them have drug abuse. Some of them come from abusive backgrounds and things like that. But we try to heal the whole family. It's not just healing the child. It doesn't benefit us to work with the child if we're going to still put them back in an environment that's not fixed too. So we work on the child and then also the home environment too before we send them back, so that everybody is healed in the process.
That's awesome. All right. So finally, I asked you earlier about 17-year-old Mary Foster. If you could go back today, what would you tell that 17-year-old Mary?
If I could go back and tell her something, I would tell her that she would be proud of who she is. I'm really proud of. I look at the things that I've done and for our kids and giving them the opportunities, just hold your head up and it gets better. Yeah. She got something to look forward to.
Very good. Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time this week. And again, congratulations on being our April Blue KC Coach of the Character honoree. Well, that does it for this episode of the C10 Mentoring and Leadership Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, we hope that you'll leave a favorable review on your favorite podcast platform. If you didn't enjoy it, or you have other comments or suggestions for potential guests, you can click on the comment link in the show's notes. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an interview. And if you or your company would like to help underwrite this podcast, let me know. Until next time, this is Matt Folks for the See You in the Major Leagues Foundation saying be safe and take care.